My name is Scott Charles. I'm the Trauma Outreach Coordinator, and I work with victims of gun violence, and that's essentially all I do. Out of curiosity, do any of you know somebody who's been shot? With a show of hands, how many of you know somebody who's been shot? Do any of you live with somebody who's been shot? Okay.
So the reason why Scott and I wanted to create a program like Cradle to Grave was we felt that we needed to do more, like preventing these patients from coming in. We saw it as an education in that who knows better what bullets do to bodies than those that work in a hospital.
My job is not to freak you out, but we are going to have a candid conversation about gun violence. Is that cool?
And we thought it was our responsibility to do that. If we weren't talking, then the students were seeing what was happening in movies or video games or TV, and that was not real at all.
The goal of Cradle to Grave was to really humanize the experience of gun violence, to de-glamorize it in many ways.
I want to introduce you to Dr. Amy Goldberg, who is the chair of surgery here. And so she's going to walk us through what she and her colleagues do in this space when she ends up with a gunshot victim. And we're going to talk about Lamont and all the things that were done in an effort to save his life. Lamont is going to have a bullet wound right here. He's going to have a bullet wound right there. He's going to have a bullet wound right there.
When Lamont came in, as Scott said, the first thing that we did was to make sure that we take off all of his clothes and everything so we can identify where the injuries are and we can start thinking about what has been injured. And when we first evaluate him, he's not breathing at all. And the first thing that we needed to do was put a breathing tube in his mouth so that we were able to breathe for him.
This issue of gun violence isn't really as much about living or dying as much as it is about suffering. And we find that particularly when you talk about one of the things that leads to so much of the violence, the sense of being disrespected, the sense of shame that lies at the heart of so much of the violence that we see, the kids, after seeing the realities of being shot, or more importantly, pulling the trigger, they see violence as a less reasonable reaction to being disrespected.
And what we did was we used our knife and we made an incision in his left chest where the heart is.
Cradle to Grave is not a Scared Straight program. There's, nobody raises their voices. It's just narrating a story that is sad, but it is unfortunately too often a reality of growing up in a city like Philadelphia.
Since 2002, approximately 25,000 people have been shot in the city of Philadelphia. The #1 weapon of choice is the 9mm. Somebody was shot every 6.5 hours last year in Philadelphia. That 80% of people who get shot in Philadelphia actually survive being shot. Gun violence is contagious. It's like a disease. When somebody gets infected with it, it doesn't stay with them, they pass it along, right?
One of the goals is to really spell out the consequences of being a victim of gunshot injury and talk about the debilitating injuries that they suffer. Among those are amputations, or the fact that we see so many young men who are paralyzed as a result of a shooting.
It is good that 80% of our gunshot victims live.